if you are interested in, some of the things I take to the job site, just check this video out. So as you can see, I've got a couple of things here. One is my rolling tool bag. This is kind of like my installation bag. It's got basically everything that I need to do an install. It's got a small level, a couple small levels, right? A torpedo level and a 2-foot level. It's got my vacuum. It's got my belt sander. It's got tape measure. It's got glue, 2 different kinds of glue. It's got pencils. I've got a shelf pin jig right here. I've got clamps. I've got scissors. I've got pry bars, stud finder, combo, screwdriver, a couple of nail sets, a couple sets of scribes, a couple chisels. You can't do too many jobs without nice sharp chisels, so having a couple different sizes of those is nice. 3/4 and a 1/4 inch. I've got my 5-in-1. Of course, you got to have this. And you know what's nice about this one is it's so easy to change out the blade. I really like this this guy here, utility knife. Some files. Now, I'm not always using these, but it's really nice to have when you do need them. They come in handy. Some different pry bars, right? So I've got the little tiny ones, which are cool. And then of course I've got my big guy right there. But I usually use the little ones. The big one's only for demo. Then of course, my torpedo level. This flathead screwdriver is really nice to get into areas next to cabinets. Sometimes I have to reach back. I have to push, baseboard away and grab it. It's nice to use those. So inside, you can see here how I have it organized. Now, of course, this is a custom insert that I made, and it works really well. I've got my vacuum attachment here, which is my favorite one. Of course, my vacuum, right? I've got some bags, a trash bag down there. And, of course, this is my all-important handle jig. I've got my level back there, of course. I even keep some shims in here. My 2P10, my quick setting glue back here. And I've got, of course, pencils. I have a micro screwdriver, a first aid kit down in there, as well as a big putty knife, my saw, flashlight, my razor saw, mallet, and a little trim hammer here. I used to carry a bigger hammer, but honestly I don't use them, so it just adds more weight. My combination square just goes in the slot right there. And my the other side here, of course, I've got my tape measure, 3 different basically pliers. I've got my normal pliers, I've got needle nose, and I've got wire cutter, nipper type things. This is my clamps here, spring clamps, angle finder, some more bags, Ziploc and trash bags. And this is a couple attachments for my vacuum, and a couple of rags with some paper towels. Sandpaper on this outside part. I've got my wire cutters. This is a really nice thing to have just in case you're checking power. You want to make sure if the power's off or whatever. That's nice to have. Scissors and some debonder for the quick setting glue. Sometimes you have to use a little debonder. And some notepads. It's always nice to have notepads. File center goes in here nicely. I've got my sandpaper down there. It's just a really nice organized setup. This is not a 5-gallon bucket. This bucket's actually a Black & Decker. It's a wider bucket. It allows me to put lots of stuff in. And when I made this organization insert, it's just basically been, you know, I love this thing. So with that bag comes the next series of things, and that is like my screws and my, you know, basically specific tools for different jobs. So whether it's a small, tiny little job or a big job, it doesn't matter. This comes with me. It's a 3-drawer sortainer, and I did a whole video on what I actually have in this. So if you're interested in watching that video, just to actually see the specific items I have, take a look at that. I've got this thing pretty much modified to fit my stuff. I trimmed here to allow my screwdrivers to pass through, right? Spare battery. I put my 16-foot tape in here, a little flashlight, some business cards. Sometimes, you know, you need some medical supplies. So I've got some, you know, alcohol wipes, Band-Aids, whatnot. Different size drill bits. Of course, my charger. As you can see, it fits in here just perfectly, right? And the nice thing about this is when you shut these, I could tip this over and nothing's going to fall out. So that's really cool. I do have a dust mask in here. That's the foldable fast cap kind. And I've got my nails right here. I've got my, when I drill out for handles and knobs on doors, I like to use this guy as my backer. So basically this is my piece that I use to back up my, probably need to change it out. Back up my holes so I don't get tear out. I use this for my stud. So some of this is repetitive from the other bag, but what I find is that if I only bring this to a job, to certain jobs, right, I want to make sure that I have a lot of stuff. So even if there's duplicates in here, it's important to have, you just never know when you're going to need a duplicate item. All my, you know, different drill bit attachments here. And this is my, you know, glasses. I keep a 4-inch and also a 6-inch squares in here. These are my favorite screwdrivers for, you know, installing hinges and changing the, you know, adjusting hinges and whatnot. Putting handles on, knobs, pencils. I have another set of scribes in there, snack bar. This is my handle area. So I've got 1 inch, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4, 1 5/8, and I've got some of these door bumpers. And I've got some Euro screws here, some shims. This is my shim bag for installing like inset drawer fronts and doors and all that stuff. Plus I've got my little pins in here, so it shares it with the 1 5/8 for handles there, screws. This is nice because I kind of keep these separate from the bigger nails, which are these. So this fits just perfectly in here. So I put these are basically all 16 gauge nails. I really don't use my brad nailer anymore. So this is just in case I get a stripped out screw. It's nice to have. Now moving on, this is my screw selection here and my right angle drill attachment with some sockets, my little stubby combo screwdriver. And these are the ones that, you know, when you're dealing with sinks and you're dealing with false fronts and you have to put on or take off, these are invaluable, right? When you are working in a space where you just can't access anything, sometimes this is the only way I can get a screwdriver in. These work great, but this is way too big for a lot of spaces, so those other ones are great to have. Some spare lead back there. Then I've got my various, you know, stuff for like outlets, covering up outlets, you know. I've got my plug here. I've got my shelf pins. These are like my hinge screws and, you know, drawer slide screws, right? Various different ones. And these are like my installation type screws, 1.25 inch, you know, all the way up to 3 inch. So that's pretty cool, right? I mean, it's all, I mean, totally organized. I love how everything just works so well in this, you know, setup here. I just love it. This obviously is not the lightest thing in the world, so it's nice if I'm traveling, you know, a big distance to and from the truck. What I like to do is just take this, put everything on here, and then, you know, wheel it into the house. It's so much better for me. And then I've got these. These are like, let me go ahead and move this to the side. I don't know what I did without these when I didn't have them, and they are just awesome. So as you can see, they're all the SYS-MFTs. I made some custom inserts for these particular ones. This is set up to fit my jigsaw, and this works great. I mean, I can put in a spare battery in here, but right now I've just got, you know, a spare set of glasses, different saw blades. I've got my clamps here. But the nice thing about this is that when I'm using this, the insert is set down so I can utilize my clamps in the holes. They don't interfere, so it works out really well. And what's nice about it also is that I can still grab the top and lift it up from the top. Let me go ahead and take you down here. This setup is for my multi-tool, obviously. This works extremely well. So basically I've got my cutout set up here. So I've got a utility knife to cut the caulking off the baseboard. I've got my hammer. I have a little pry bar. So if I just take this to the job site, I basically have this at the ready. I've got glasses so I can see what I'm doing. And the battery, of course, charger. This doesn't usually ever come out, but if I'm on the job or if I'm doing a lot of stuff, the battery will go dead. And again, when I'm using these, you can see how low the grit is in there, so I can put the clamps in and I can, you know, clamp stuff down, which is great. Let me go ahead and take you to the next one. So if you haven't actually ever seen these or used these, I encourage you to check them out. They're really good. Extra battery, charging cords in this guy, extension cords. This is a 4-inch hole saw for access to, you know, for audio video cabinets. I like to use 4-inch holes. Keep a roll of tape in here and various other things, a couple clamps. So the nice thing about these is that they're low profile, right? This part doesn't go down into this area. So if I have this filled up with stuff, it's not going to interfere, which is really cool. Oftentimes, I don't bring any other workbench with me. I used to have, you know, I have a big, you know, custom workbench, but I find myself not even utilizing it. I just take a couple of these, just like they are. I can take my work pieces, whatever I'm working on. I don't even need to take 2 of them, but generally speaking, I like to have 2 if the piece is really big. I can take my pieces, and let's say I wanted to trim this drawer front here, or a door, okay? Let's say this is a door, and I want to trim this guy. All I have to do is put this guy on here, and I mean, seriously, it's really nice. If you just wanted to take it like that, and you can see how grippy that is. It's just sliding the whole thing around. That is really nice. But if I wanted to add the clamps, or if I wanted to straddle 2 of them, right? So I find myself, you know, grabbing these before anything at the job sites to do my work. So a lot of times it's scribing. So if I'm scribing baseboard, little pieces of base, let's say I wanted to cope this end right here. I can take this, now I'm doing this with one hand, so bear with me. I don't need to put it on here, but I find myself always gravitating towards that. put it just like that, and bang. That's not moving. So I can go ahead, I can work with this, I can cope this, and I don't have to worry about this thing, you know, vibrating loose, because when it's on the rubber there, seriously, it's on there, man. You are not going to move that guy. And it's up above, so I could use my jigsaw. If I'm working in the house, I don't have to worry about hitting the floor. This is just a really nice thing to have. I find myself only using these pretty much, you know, all the time for work, you know, working with moldings and stuff. The other nice thing about having multiple of these on the job site, working on this stuff, is that if I need to clamp something large, like a big counter or even a big door, I can do it very easily. Now this can clamp in the handle, or it can clamp in the holes, depending on your location and all that stuff. So whatever your setup is, it gives you a lot of options. So now I've got these things basically connected, right? Whether it's an 8-foot long countertop, whatever it is, I can work on this. You've already got them at the job site for your toolboxes, and the fact that they double as a workbench, to me, it's like, it's a no-brainer. Pretty much all these tools go with me to every job, whether or not I use them. I certainly don't do any job without having these. These guys here are pretty much, you know, my ladders. I don't even bring big ladders unless I'm working on really high stuff. So most things 8 feet and under, I can work with these. And when I'm doing drawer fronts and whatnot, I can work with them sitting down nicely. So I bring my, I have the short one, which is this one, and I have the bigger one. So I have those two that I take to the jobs. That's what I use. If I'm working, let's say I'm working on a big cabinet and I need to be able to walk from one to the next to put the big crown on or something, I'll take a couple of these so I can, you know, walk from the end of the cabinet to the other end and not, you know, have to step down. I really like those versus ladders. Now, obviously, they're not going to work for really tall stuff, but for, you know, for me, I can reach pretty tall stuff even with just those. You can actually stack all these things on this, right? Secured with the strap. And I can lift this up. I can put it in the bed of my truck. Now, my truck is a little high, so it's a little bit tough to do, but I can do it, depending on how heavy this gets. This part here just slides. It slides really nicely on the carpet in my truck bed. So I can use that feature pretty nicely. And the crazy thing is that nothing falls out of that guy. And, you know, once you start stacking these things, they basically get to the point where nothing's going to fall out of them, right? Because you have them completely sealed up. When I'm at a job where I have all these, sometimes it's just nice to have this. And these things go over like thresholds and steps really easily. And I'll tell you something, when you have this thing stacked up with a lot of weight, it holds it nicely. I also can put all sorts of stuff on top of these when I'm going to the job. Let's say I have a box of slides. I could put my nail guns. So typically this goes on the bottom. So now I can utilize those drawers while it's on here. Open up everything, and I just take these. Lock that on. So now I've got all these locked on, and I can take this if I want to strap it. I don't always strap it, but sometimes it's, you know, nice to. Tighten that up, make it as tight as you want. Now I can put my nail gun on here as well. Let's just say I'm using my nail gun here. I can put it on here, and or like this. So that's cool. My step stools right there. So now I've got this thing pretty much set up, so I can release the locks on the bottom. I can take it from room to room if I'm working on different rooms, if I'm working in different rooms of the house. Now I have been, you know, if I take my sanders, you know, easily I could be over the height of this, but I don't find that it's been a problem at all. I mean, I've had this thing stacked up, you know, easily to there, no problem at all. So I guess it's just a matter of how much weight is in each thing, but you know, it holds the weight really well. And with this thing ratcheted down, it's not going anywhere. If you look at the back of it, see it's got these guys here. So this is what adjusts the height of the strap and keeps the sustainers from falling backwards when you strap down. If I want to pull this tighter and really lock it in, all I have to do is ratchet it down a little tighter and it will push it back a little bit more. Obviously, the further back it goes, the better for stability purposes. It's just harder to connect. But once you have it connected, man, it's not going anywhere. This thing will hold a lot. So I can open up this guy from in here, right? Just like that, no problem. And if I need to get below it, I can just remove this and lift the other one up. So it's a pretty nice setup. If you have any questions, let me know. I would be glad to help you guys. And hey, thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.